Alright, so let's get a little bit more in depth and talk about some of the harder parts of Rubicon. If I click into my language arts here, I'm going to scroll down to personal narrative here. And in my personal narrative, you're going to see that I've already put in most of my standards, and you're going to see that I had the basic essential questions, the enduring understandings. Now all of this information has really already been done for me. Most of it is in my um, binder that has been handed to me from the district and photocopied for myself. And you're going to see that I don't really have so much content where it's vocab, so it's going to be a little bit different. Now, since we've talked about these four things, I'm going to just scroll down to now. The hardest part about doing Rubicon here is doing the assessment piece correctly. So I don't have any assessments in here, but I can tell you that there's two types of assessments for this piece of writing. One is almost like a running record and on how they're writing throughout, and the other one would be the actual persuasive essay. Now there's other things I could do. I can make them outline, or I'm sorry, I'm saying persuasive essay, but it's actually a personal narrative. Um, but I can grade an outline and so on and so forth. It's really what grades I'm really looking to try and get into my grade book. So I'm going to add the personal narrative, and when I click on assessment, I'm going to type in assessment name, and I'm going to type in personal narrative. Now, the next step is saying what is it? Out of all these things, what are they actually asked to do? Um, Really, it's a story. You could call it a drama piece where they're going to have to write something. Um, you could even say expository piece. Um, it's a story that has something to do with themselves. So right now we're going to just pick, let's say, expository. All right. Then the final piece, you're going to have to say formative or summative. Um, I've copied something here just to show you, to give you an idea on what's the difference here. So the formative assessment is where you're going to be gathering feedback that could be used to help improve them. So if you're going to do an outline as a grade, well, an outline is something that you can use to help them or guide them to become a better writer. Conferencing. These are all great things where you could do that are formative assessments. Summative assessments is the measure of success. Are they able to do what you have asked them to do? Now, this piece is the final. It's the final personal narrative. It's where I'm going to be grading it up against a rubric, where the rubrics are going to be asking them or matching up to the standards. So this piece is a summative assessment. So I could even type in here, what this is, but I know exactly what it is. Now, on the bottom, you're going to have all the standards that you had up top. Now, you have three check boxes that you could choose from. You have I, P, and M. And M, on the bottom, you're going to see means mastered. P means practiced. And I means introduced. Now, some of these things, for the first time, they will be introduced to. But it might not be for this assessment. This assessment, the personal narrative, is something that you've already introduced. you've already practiced. So everything that I click on this should be mastered, because I'm not asking them in one day to punch out a personal narrative and not explain to them any pieces of it beforehand. So everything that I click on should be mastered. It should be something that they've done over and over again in class, and you're now asking them to hand in, their very best piece of work for a fourth grader or higher. So I start looking at my standards, and I look at it, it says write narratives to develop real and imagined experiences or events. So to me, this is something I've already done many lessons on multiple times, so I'm expecting them to master. Um, you know, my rubric has that there's to have transition words in there. We've already done multiple mini lessons with different types of transition words. You might even have a chart hanging up in your room. This is something that should be mastered. I'm not going to go through every, specific one. Produce clear and coherent writing, an organization. Absolutely. This is going to be mastered. But maybe if I'm not doing the personal narrative, the final written piece, and I was doing the outline, then instead of clicking on the mastered, I'm going to hit practiced. Because I would expect them to be able to hand me something that, that the outline, I've already showed them what an outline should look like, so therefore they should be able to hand me something that's somewhat similar. Now, it doesn't have to be my way, but it could be a foursquare that you're working on. It could be an actual outline where numbers, letters, or whatever. So I'm going to click on mastered here. With guidance and support from peers and adults, develop and strengthen writing as needed, revising and editing. This is fine if I click mastered, but this should have taken place multiple times in your class before it gets to mastered. Understand, this is mastered on a fourth grade level, not mastered on, an eighth grade level. This isn't saying that they don't need any help. This is just saying that this is what is expected of them after they have gone through the entire writing process with you as a teacher. So then I hit save, and this is going to come up. And if you remember back at the beginning where I said you can run the analysis on what standards are being assessed in this personal narrative, it's going to say that the personal narrative is assessing 4 or 5 of the standards that you have put into the top for your standards. The last thing that you want is to have a standard up here and not assess it, because that means that you have nothing that specifically tells you whether or not they actually know that standard. So when I first started, I never filled in this piece and attached those standards to it because I didn't know. So to save yourself a lot of time, and instead of deleting all these things, you're going to want to do it immediately. That's why it's really important to have your standards put in onto the top, so that when you put your assessments in, you can link them immediately. Because if you don't have your standards up here, you're not going to have the standards show up down here. Alright? Now, say there's more standards, because these are the standards I have up top, more standards that you're actually hitting, that's when you can hit the additional standards. But you don't want to go looking for every single standard that you're teaching. That's why I recommend putting the standards in up top before you put in your assessments. It's just going to save you a lot of time. On the bottom, what we have are different learning activities that we do throughout. So you can see, there's 17 different. Now, these are, different writing tasks that you could do in, the binder. A lot of them are already in there. There's stuff that you can add to it. I know for a fact that, this is something that I ended up copying the lesson from, I believe, Jackie Becker. at Aptua. Thank you for that. And what I needed to do is I just need to fine tune what I have in here. Now, most of these things all fourth graders do, which isn't a bad thing, but I also do more than that. So I'm going to have to add the things that I do additional to it to that and try and see if I could keep to some type of order. Some suggested texts, again, these are all texts that all fourth graders are using. And these are all teacher references that all our teachers are using in fourth grade. And these are notes that you could have for the teacher where they don't have to be in here. And you can actually put them in here and it'll go into your notes page. So pretty simple. I'm actually going to just show you how to take it out of here. I'm going to delete that from there. Click on notes. I'm going to enter that note. Alright. And then it's just going to say where do I want to put it for my notes. And this is for resources. So I'm just going to hit save. And then it will be in my notes. I'll show you that in a second. Now, I have links to this page right here. You could tell because it's red. So if I have a link to it, you can see that I already have, a website that you could use. You can, it's hard to click from here to, go to that link specifically, which is why they have a view button. But before I hit that, I'm just going to hit save unit. I'm going to click the view button here. And when I click the view button, you're going to see all the information that you have here. You can print out nice and neatly now. But you also have your links to what you want to do. So say I want to click on the writer's workshop. Where is this taking me to? It's going to take me to, a website that shows you what should be done in the writer's workshop. Again, it's just a helpful website that you could actually see. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This is not so much my lesson. I believe this one was taken from, or copied. I just copied it from one of the teachers over at Aptua, just to give you an idea of something else that was done. So you could see, I'm going to click on another one so you could see what that one actually views like. So let's go to science. Atmosphere and beyond. You can see all the standards. Again, know that different types of standards for different subjects in the elementary schools. Essential questions where I found up to grade 12. This was actually handed to us. And content is not in there, so I need to do my vocab for this. My day-to-day lessons are not in the collaborative differentiation, so that's something I need to put in there. I have my quizzes, everything's in there. I have links, so I've uploaded my quizzes and tests to it. And you're going to see really, it's really a never-ending process. No matter how much information you put in there, it's always changing. It's always, becoming, more and more useful to yourself. And 1 year doesn't mean that it's, it's done. And this is something I've been working on for, 2 years. Not just science, but, most of mine. So if I click view, you're going to see everything that I've pretty much uploaded. So you have all your quizzes, alright, study guides. I know I haven't even put in there some of my slideshows. My classroom website I've put in there, a different, a weather instruments page.